Yesterday on Locked On Canadiens, we told you the Canadiens should not call up Jacob Fowler. About 10 minutes later, they did it anyway. We'll tell you what to expect from the rookie goaltender and why the Montreal Canadiens might have made this decision now, today on Locked On Canadiens.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Locked On Canadiens. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day, for subscribing wherever you get your podcast, and for making us the number one sports podcast network here at Locked On. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. My name is Ian Boisvert, also known as the guy who was immediately wrong about Jacob Fowler being called up. And I'm joined, as I always am, by Laura Saba, also known as the actor's take. Laura, we really, you started that episode with saying you had egg on your face. Yes. And we ended the episode with both of us having egg on our face. How does that happen? Is it contagious? Should we be worried?
I think we should be worried. Yes, we're gonna have a whole episode now, and then they're gonna do something else, like send Beck back down and call up Florian, because who's so far has had a 2.8.
Yeah, they're gonna trade for Jeff Petrie a fourth and fifth time by the time this show is over. Look, we have a lot to talk about for an off day for the Canadiens. We'll talk about Fowler. It looks like he's poised to make his NHL debut Thursday against the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll talk about everything that leads into that and whether or not the Canadiens are making the right decision. We'll talk about, the other call-ups that they made. Owen, Beck, Adam Engström recalled from the Laval Rocket. We'll talk about their roles on this current, mini road trip before they head on a homestand for their last homestand of 2025. And then Marty says that there's a plan with what's going on right now. And we need to talk about that because I don't know what it is. So let's get started with Jacob Fowler. First of all, I think it's important to notice he would be the first NHL goalie born in Florida. There's never been a goalie born in Florida to play in the National Hockey League. He would be the first. It looks like he's going to start against Pittsburgh. And at practice on Wednesday, he had his own net, and Dobish and Montembeault were sharing the other net, which is usually an indicator. The net that only one guy is in is the starter. Should we worry? So we were pretty against this idea.
Yeah,
we were against it. I think we had visions of ghosts of Caden Primo past coming back to haunt us here. Are those fears founded? Are they legitimate? Should we worry about this player the same way we worried about a different player?
I'm gonna defer to one of my favorite goalie experts, our good friend Dylan, who I know we promised him a while ago. It's a scheduling issue. Like, we're all very, very busy people. We will have him on to talk about goaltending. And he had, at the time that this was happening with Caden Primo, like it was a little bit more private. His thoughts on Caden Primo not being able to have his game translate to the NHL level, right? So in his view, it wasn't the rushing or the uncertainty or the way the Canadiens handled him as much as it was Caden Primo was not able to bring his game up to the NHL level, right? And he talked at the time about, every level you go up, you have to adjust a certain way based on the competition and also just the game evolves, right? So I did ask him point blank, like, what do you think about Fowler? And he didn't say, essentially, he hasn't watched him enough to give us a concrete opinion on that, as much as he had watched Caden Primo. And I think at the time, like, he had a little bit more time to observe Caden Primo's career much more closely, right? Right. And he is going to make the time to watch Jacob Fowler, obviously, and try to get a sense of how he plays. So I wonder if our fears are just overblown, because you can also look at Carey Price, right? Carey Price was called up, and I know people are drawing parallels with the Pittsburgh debut, et cetera, et cetera.
It's uncanny.
Yeah, but Carey Price also had growing pains. Like, there was a point where much of this fan base was angry that they kept Price and traded Halak, right? You remember that. He had slumps in the worst possible moments. Like, literally in the playoffs, he got chased from the net, right?
Yep.
So I think that, we have to be careful with being worried about it. But one thing that I will say is that I don't think that this team is ready to contend. So if Jacob Fowler is going to play, I hope he gets the prime minutes, because if not, they need to send him to Laval to get those prime minutes. Because what's like the biggest thing that's going to help a goaltender in his development is facing shots, in real game situations and developing a sense, right? And so for me, it's not too soon to call him up and give him a shot if we believe what the Canadiens are, or the narrative the Canadiens are pushing about this. It's not too early. But at the same time, for the next couple of years, I want them to put him into the situation where he's getting as much development and information and instinct as possible.
Yeah. I do find that it's interesting that they're making this switch now when, the last few games, Marty, and I know Nick Suzuki has said it as well, they're actually kind of happy with where their defensive game is headed, not where it is currently, but that they're not playing as poorly as they were on the defensive side of the puck, maybe 2 weeks ago, right? Like
Right.
that area of their game is coming along. Laura, what do I bring to this show? It's numbers, right? You want to hear some numbers?
Yes.
I counted up the number of games played by each of these Canadiens goalies between their draft year and making their NHL debut. That counts for junior/college hockey, AHL games, and World Juniors games. One of these goalies played 142 games in between being drafted and making their NHL debut. One played 110, one played 107. The one that played 142 was Carey Price. The one who played 110 was Caden Primo, 107 for Fowler. So of those three, he's played the least since being drafted. It's 2 years, right? When you think about Carey Price, he was drafted in 2005. He made his debut in 2007. That's 2 years, right? Yeah. So in time, just pure time, he's not played. They're about the same.
Yeah.
The difference was Fowler played 74 college games after being drafted, and Price played 112 junior games after being drafted. So quite different, right? It's just a matter of they play more games in junior, and that's why I think junior probably prepares you more for being a starting goaltender because you play more, right?
Yeah.
The AHL doesn't even really do a great job of that because you don't play, you play a lot of games in a very short amount of time and you have a bunch of days off. That's how the AHL typically works. I'm of two minds about this, right? I think you are well within your right to feel worried that this is a rushed solution, that this is an act of desperation. We'll talk about that in our third segment because Marty had quite a quote today, and I frankly don't believe him, but that's fine.
I was literally waiting for you to say you don't believe it.
It's not their job to tell us the truth, man, and that's fine. But anyway, I lost my train of thought on this one. It's not the, I've completely lost it.
You said that it wasn't, it's that we are well within our rights to be worried.
To be worried that they're rushing this.
Yes.
But then I'm also didn't we all think that Juraj Slafkovsky was going to be Jesperi Kotkaniemi 2.0?
Yeah.
We were all convinced of that 18 months ago, right? And that didn't happen. I think we often have continued to burden this version of the organization with the sins of the past, and it's not necessarily fair. So I'm willing to let this play out because people keep throwing around he's being brought up to be the savior. I don't think he is.
No.
They're literally NHL average goaltending right now is an 892. Can Jacob Fowler give you an 892 at the NHL? Maybe.
I think so.
You know who can't? The other
Montembeault.
Two guys who are playing there, neither of them are giving you 892. The Canadiens average between the two of them is 876. So I think it's worth a shot. We'll talk about the plan, right? The plan is what's coming next. That's what Marty talked about. I want to talk about that at the end of our show today. But we do need to talk about the other recalls because yes, goaltending is a problem, but there are lots of other problems on this team right now. And the Canadiens are hoping that they can get some internal solutions from Laval. We'll get into that in just a minute here on Locked On Canadiens. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. And look, with your fantasy playoffs underway, there's nothing better than doubling down on the guys that you have on your roster. You got a quarterback plan. Maybe you'd like to up the ante a little bit when it comes to that guy being successful or not and leading your team to a championship. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Holidays are here, and this year I'm not stressing about what to wear because I'll be wearing my Doers. You can't see it if you're on the video, but I'm literally wearing them right now. These are the most comfortable pants I own, and they make me look good. Doers denim and lifestyle apparel is engineered for movement and versatility, whether I'm on the go, traveling, or lounging at home, or going to a nice dinner party, or I'm at work. I look and feel great. If you don't have your own Doers, now is the time. I've been recommending Doer to all my friends. They're my favorite jeans to wear. They're my go-tos. I really can't recommend them enough. For me, the biggest factor is the temperature regulating Cool Max fabric. They keep me warm, but I don't overheat. Doer invented the original performance denim, and they give us the best of both worlds, combining classic jeanswear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. They're designed to look great and stay comfortable all day long, all year round. So it's time for you to experience the comfort of Doer, and I know you'll love these. Pick up a pair for yourself or as an amazing holiday gift. Find Doer at your local retailers like Neon, Trader, and Mech, or shop online at doer.ca/lockedoncanadians. You'll get 15% off your first order. That's DUER.ca/lockedoncanadians for 15% off. Doer.ca/lockedoncanadians. All right, we are back. Thank you for making Locked On Canadiens your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On Canadiens, or Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Canadiens with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedoncanadiens.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, we have to talk about some other recalls. Adam Engström is back after being sent back down, late last week, instantly coming right back up to the Canadiens. And Owen Beck is in. Let's start with Beck. It looks like he's going to be in for Evans, who is going to be missing some time for some personal reasons. The Canadiens insisted he was not injured. A report surfaced that he had an injured foot that was injured in the Washington game, which, seeing the hit that he took from Tom Wilson, the foot is the last place I would have expected him to be injured. But the Canadiens are insisting, as Arpon Basu put it, that Jake Evans is not hurt. So we will not speculate. It's not fair to do so. He's out for personal reasons. You can only assume what he's going through. So we are not even going to do that. With that said, even as much as he's struggled as of late, losing Jake Evans is a big problem for the Canadiens. They bring in Owen Beck, who has been up and down from the AHL and the NHL, which is fine. It's not unusual for a player to be like that. They're not going to be able to lean on Beck for as much as they leaned on Evans, right? Like, someone else in this lineup is going to have to step up.
Yes, absolutely. I think personally for me, this is just kind of like they had to, right? I do want to quote our good friend Denny, who we love very much. Yesterday when the call-ups were announced, he said, a forward, a defenseman, and a goalie, they're not happy with anybody, which I thought was so good.
We read it as we stopped recording our show, and we both laughed at it. It was Denny.
It was so good.
A post of the day, I will say, from Denny on that one.
Yeah, because the thing that I was thinking about was that Owen Beck is not message sending, right? Owen Beck is like, we need a guy. Like, Florian Xhekaj is a message. Owen Beck is like a person who needs to fulfill that role.
In a way, Adam Engström's a message being sent, right?
Yeah.
And, at practice on Wednesday, Adam Engström was cycling in with Jaden Struble playing next to Lane Hutson, which is a different situation than what Engström came up to when he came up for the last road trip for the Canadiens, which is that he played on the third pair with Carrier. And if it was Xhekaj playing, Xhekaj moved up. But I think at one point Struble was hurt, so they had to shuffle a lot of stuff around. I don't know if Struble is still hurt. He's not very good right now. He's really struggling. Well. No, he's not. I mentioned it last week during a game. I can't remember what game, but I love Jaden Struble when he doesn't have the puck, And then he has the puck, and I'm like, get rid of it. Do something else with it. He's so tentative with his decisions with the puck. And now that first part has gone away, where I don't even trust him without the puck at this point. This has sort of been just a battle between him and Xhekaj for who's going to be the 7 when Goalie is healthy.
And neither of them is winning right now.
I thought Xhekaj played a pretty decent game against Tampa. He had one shift where he was incredible in the offensive zone and then finished it with a stupid penalty. And I was like, we're right back where we were.
Well, see, like that's the thing, because like I feel like Xhekaj is more visibly trying to grasp the opportunity, and then he like does something really boneheaded.
Yeah.
Right? With Jaden Struble, I feel like he doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing.
Right. Yeah, I think Struble's having a hard time understanding what he's supposed to be at the National Hockey League level. Like, and I don't even think that that's something he should be worried about. Like, he's a good skater. He's probably one of the strongest Canadians. It's probably him and Xhekaj. They're probably the strongest dudes on this team.
Literally, like you look at them, like physically they're gifted, like the way they hit, the way they carry themselves, they're extremely strong, which we love. I also just, and I know we keep coming back to this, I also just want to point out how young they both are.
Yeah. Right? The challenge with those guys is I will say for Xhekaj, it's coming up on decision time for him. He's a restricted free agent at the end of the year. Let's see, he's got arbitration rights, but he is a restricted free agent. He's got $1.3 million on this contract. And then you've got Jaden Struble, who has one more year after this one before he is a restricted free agent. So Xhekaj, the time is, I don't want to say the time is running out, but he needs to, take a strong hold of this position. The Montreal Canadiens would love nothing more than for Xhekaj to grab this spot and not let it go, because he is that special of a player, right? I think that's where all of this consternation comes from. And it's why if Struble wants a spot in this lineup, he has to beat Xhekaj, not just by a little bit. Like, he has to be head and shoulders, I'm better than this player. And he hasn't shown that that's the case. And that's opened the door in this situation for not even, we're just going to keep Xhekaj. It's, we're looking at Adam Engström. Maybe Struble's hurt again. He was hurt on the road trip and they came home, and he might have re-aggravated it. He hasn't looked great for a while. Engström, last time we didn't see much of him. The Utah game, he just, they were trying to protect the lead. He didn't play much. The Colorado game, they got blown out quickly. So it was like, none of this matters. What are you hoping to see from Engström this time around? It looks like he's going to at least play the Pittsburgh game and maybe play another game later on. But what are you looking for from Adam Engström on this current call-up?
I want them to play him a lot more minutes than they did in the past. Because what do they have to lose, right?
Yeah, games, they're already doing that.
There's a built-in loss, So I want to see more minutes, and that's not from Engström himself, right? I just think that what we see from him is so tantalizing, and we look at him like the guy that can make the right decisions with the puck, which is something that we're lacking right now. And so I want them to play him enough minutes for us to be able to see that if all the hard work that he puts in, right? Like, and he's done a lot of hard work in the offseason. It's not just the AHL level. In the offseason, he's worked so hard. Like, I want to see if that results in a level at the NHL where he can keep up with these guys. And I just think that we're not seeing enough of him to be able to tell. And again, I'm not saying that this should make somebody expendable or worried about their spot or anything like that. I just personally would like to see what the Canadiens have in this guy.
Yeah, me too. This is the player we were really excited about coming into the season. This was a player who we got really excited about in training camp, and a guy we got even more excited about when he was putting up a 5-point game against the Belleville Senators in the American Hockey League. Like, it's a guy that is really a tantalizing prospect. I always just worry with Engström, do the Canadiens have too many of those kinds of players already in their roster, already in their lineup? Is it a hat on a hat, so to speak, when it comes to that player? Is Owen Beck going to penalty kill? Do they pull that lever, or is it Nick Suzuki playing 100 minutes every night?
Well, Malkin's out this week, isn't he?
He is. It's true.
Try it.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Try it on a shift. I mean, again, you're losing anyway.
Yeah. I don't envy Marty St. Louis in trying to figure out a way to stop the Pittsburgh Penguins power play, which is rocking a 33% coming into the week. That's what it was. Hey, speaking of Marty St. Louis, I think he's lying to us when he says that the Canadiens are not acting out of desperation, that there is a plan for all of this. And we'll get into that in just a minute here on Locked On Canadiens. The holidays are amazing, but they can also get overwhelming really fast. Travel, gifts, parties, year-end expenses. It's really easy to lose track of your money this time of year. And that's exactly why Monarch has become a game changer for me. If you want to keep your finances under control this holiday season, you need to be using Monarch, rated Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, simple dashboard. The holiday spending category can be a lifesaver. I can see exactly what's left in my gift and travel budget in real time. For me, around the holidays, it's always those little gifts that you just pick up for people now and then, and that sort of thing spirals. This helps me keep track of those sorts of things. In minutes, you can still track your net worth, link all your accounts, and keep track of your contributions before deadlines. And it's great for couples, shared dashboard, shared goals, and fewer wait, how much did we spend sorts of conversations. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. All right, we are back. Thank you for subscribing to Locked On Canadiens, for making us at the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. We really do love that. We love you guys. Thank you for listening. I do want to say also the joke I made at the start of last show about people saying I stopped listening when Ian joined the show. The amount of like nice comments I got from that, which is not what I was looking for. I was really just poking fun at myself. Maybe a little emotional. So thank you. I did not need that, but you guys showed up anyway. Really love that for you. For me, I love you guys for that. So thank you.
Can I tell you the best one? The best comment was, I think it was our friend Danny Joe who said, it's like the Emil Heineman trade. Do we miss Emil Heineman? Yes. Do we love what he's doing and watch him and hope for the best? Yes. But Laura needed a D partner. So
yeah. Well, that's funny because I always joke that I'm the left shot defenseman in our co-hosting relationship here. Yeah, exactly. All right. Look, let me just read this Marty St. Louis quote, and we can talk about whether or not he's lying to us, because I think there's a very good chance that he's telling us an untruth.
Yes.
He was asked if the Fowler recall is a sign of desperation, and he says, "I don't think we'll ever do anything in desperation. Somebody who's desperate, it's because he's not calculated and doesn't have a plan." Let me ask it this way.
Yes.
Why aren't the Habs desperate right now? Like, if Marty's saying they're not desperate, why are they not freaking out at the fact that the goalies that they leaned on last year and were so good, they now have to find a new thing for them. They have to find a new goalie. Like, why are they not desperate under this Marty St. Louis belief?
I think it's a little bit, there's a little bit of yes, I believe it, and a little bit of no. Okay. So I do think that there was no plan. Or I think that this was not what they were planning for. I think you pointed this out yesterday at like last offseason. They sat down and they're like, we don't need to worry about goaltending. Let's worry about these other things instead. So that they're like, there was no plan because this was not supposed to happen. And to be clear, there was no evidence that it was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, no one plans for regression this severe. No one, you couldn't possibly.
Especially like when obviously the sample size with Jake, I almost called him Jacob Fowler, with Jacob Dobish was so small, but all the information you had leading up to that point was that you could probably rely on these two for league average goaltending, right?
That was all we asked for at the beginning of the season too, was like, they don't need to be elite. I think that's the conversations I was having with some fans today, was like, well, I'm worried that they're going to lean on Fowler and he's going to need to be the savior and steal every game. Couldn't be further from the truth. No. The Canadiens on Tuesday night, when they faced off against the Tampa Bay Lightning, they were 2 points out of first place in the division, and that was with the worst goaltending in the league.
Yes.
If they have league average goaltending throughout this stretch, we're not having these conversations.
No.
We're talking about playoffs. We're talking about adding a rental at the deadline. Like, we're talking about a much different understanding of this team, and that's with everyone hurt.
Yes. Yeah, I absolutely agree. So I think the other part of this is that I really don't think that this is the year for desperation, because this is not a team that has cashed in all its chips and needs to win now before the window closes. The Stanley Cup window for this team is not open. They are a while away from that, right?
Yeah.
We're freaking out here that they should be desperate, but that window, like they haven't even reached the vicinity of that window. I know I'm like stumbling over my words because I'm so passionate about this. Like, they're not there yet. If at the beginning of this year we thought they were going to win the Stanley Cup, like, we were kidding ourselves. And I don't think we did as a fan base. I don't think we did. Now, is this a really rough stretch that they need to play through and learn lessons through? Yes. Again, we talk so much about how this team is young, but we're only doing it lip service if we don't actually consider what the implications of that are. Now, I still don't believe that they had a plan. I don't think that they intended to call up Jacob Fowler. They pretended that they did. No. I don't think that they ever intended to call up Jacob Fowler this season. Maybe as a reward, last couple of games in the NHL, like, the last 2 games of the NHL season, they call him up as a reward for good play in the AHL, which they've done with so many other players.
Sure.
That's what I thought we were going to get. So again, I don't believe them one bit.
No, and here's another reason I don't believe them at all. They called up Kakkonen last week, like earlier this week. He's not starting games. So they skipped him on the depth chart. They went right to Fowler. Why did they do that? Like, I think they genuinely believe that there's a chance Fowler can take this net for a little bit. I think that's the only reason you do this and not go to Kakkonen. Yeah. Is because you think that he is a better option for you than Kaapo Kakkonen, which at that point, it's like, why did you sign? Like, the whole thing with Kaapo Kakkonen is they signed him to a contract that would allow him to come up and play in Montreal and then be sent down on waivers, knowing full well that a team would not take on his $1 million cap hit or whatever, even though the Canadiens can bury the cap hit in the minors and pay him. It's a very rich contract for an AHL goaltender.
Yes.
Like, the fact that they're bypassing that option right now, to me, it does say a little bit about how desperate they are for goaltending. And I don't necessarily think it's bad that they're desperate for goaltending. Yeah. The rest of the team's playing okay. Yeah. It's the one spot where every night we go, ew. It's the one spot in the roster where every night we roll our eyes and go, oh, it's this again.
Okay, well, sometimes we do have conversations about defense and the forwards, but yes, consistently, goaltending is it's our focal point. But I will say one thing. They might not be desperate just in like the macro sense, but I think that in the day-to-day, they're desperate not to bleed points, right? Not even to bank points. They don't want to bleed points, because if they can tread water until Caden Gooley comes back, until one of the goalies figures it out, if they can tread water until, like, I know we're expecting Kirby Dach and Gooley back way before we're expecting Line A and Alex Newhook back. I don't think we're going to see Alex Newhook this season, are we?
He'll be back before the playoffs, should they make the playoffs. So it looks like mid-March is when he'll make an appearance. And you got to remember, the season goes a little bit deeper into April this year because of the Olympics.
Yeah. So, like, I think that they're just trying not to, like, give up their footing before they have a full lineup. And I do also want to caution, like, it doesn't matter when they come back, there's going to be an adjustment period.
Yeah. I also, the whole thing with, the other spots in the lineup that are struggling on a given night. Like, I find that with the goaltending being as bad as it is, you say that they don't want to bleed points, which I think is true. I think it's more so they don't want to bleed confidence from the guys who play in front of them. If you are playing hockey with the understanding that every mistake I make, there's like a 75% chance it ends up in my net, you're going to play tight. You're going to play you're playing not to lose, and you're not playing to win. That's the huge difference with that mentality. So I think it's twofold. And I think too, like, Jobish is what he could potentially be part of this young team as they go into being a competitor. I wonder how much of this is not that these guys think this way, but I know I certainly do. Like, Montembeault is probably not going to be here when the Canadiens are in their heyday, right? You can't imagine that he's going to be playing at a level where you're not playing Fowler and you're playing him. That's the whole point of this is to be playing the guy that you think is the cornerstone of this franchise in net. So I'm really curious to see how this plays out. We'll see Thursday if he can repeat history of Carey Price winning his first NHL start in Pittsburgh. It looks like that's where Fowler will get his first NHL start as well. All right, let's hit our trivia and then head out of here. Through 15 games, Sam Montembeault has one of the worst save percentages in Habs history. Only 4 goalies had a worse save percentage through 15 games of a season. Who was the worst? Who has the worst 15-game start to a season by save percentage in Canadiens history? Do you know the answer, Laura?
Yeah, I only know the answer because you just told me it. Also, don't forget to shout out Super Rain belatedly.
Yes.
It's Steve Penny.
It is Steve Penny. No one got this one right. Steve Penny in 1985-86 started the season 15 games. He had an 842. Makes Sam Montembeault look like a Vezina winner. No one won it, so I'll use this as a chance to shout out Super Rain, who got yesterday's question right, but we did not receive the answer before we started doing the show. So apologies to our friend Super Rain. You have been recognized. All right. Today's question. Carey Price made his NHL debut on October 10th, 2007 in Pittsburgh, but he was not the only Canadiens player to make their NHL debut that night. Which other Habs rookie had his NHL debut overshadowed by Carey Price? If you have the answer, put it in the comments down below this video. Let us know any way you know how, and we'll give you a shout out on the next episode of the show. That is going to do it for us today on this episode of Locked On Canadiens. Thank you for listening, subscribing, making us your first listen of the day. Make sure you subscribe to and follow us wherever you get your podcasts so you get all of our latest episodes. Did Locked On Canadiens make your Spotify rep? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform, and they'll drop you a code. I want to be very clear here. Do not tag at Locked On Canadiens on any of these things. We don't have the codes. You have to tag the national Locked On Podcast Network account. The logo should be green. That's the network's colors. So you tag them, they'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everyday Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. For those of you on video, we will now send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure your second listen is NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. You can find our show, Locked On Canadiens, everywhere we're posting things, at Locked On Canadiens, Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok primarily. Make sure you send in your mailbag questions. We're recording our mailbag tomorrow after the Penguins game, so send in your questions. It could be about the game. It could be about anything. We'll try our best to answer any questions you guys send in. You can find me at Maybe It's Ian. You can find Laura at The Actor Stick. Thanks so much for tuning in. Enjoy the start of the Jacob Fowler era. We'll talk to you after the game.